Great. So thank you everyone for coming, and I want to thank PayPal for allowing us to present today. And really, it's been a very tight partnership with PayPal in terms of actually building out this product, and I'm pretty excited about it. So the title's a bit of a mouthful here, but really what we're aiming to do, what we're doing with PayPal, is monetizing online video content. So looking for new ways to actually monetize online video content. So you could probably summarize that title with monetize online video content. So what's sort of the agenda for this particular session? So I want to start off talking a little bit high level around online video monetization, what folks are currently doing, where the space is currently at. Then I want to talk about and demo the integration we did with PayPal directly in our product. We have a content management system called Backlot, and we did an integration directly with PayPal into our product. So I want to show everyone what that looks like. Finally, I want to show you the checkout experience inside our player. So we have an online video player. I want to show you what that looks like to actually purchase content in our player. Talk about some of the features, and then talk about some of the different monetization models that we're enabling with our joint product. So just to take a step back, I think everyone here knows people are consuming more and more video content online. So next year, it's estimated that 72 million folks are actually going to consume premium video content at least one time a month. So these are sites like Hulu, these are sites like NBC, ABC, etc. There's a lot of premium content being consumed online. Now, if you throw YouTube and some of these other sites in the mix, it actually jumps to around 160 million US domestic viewers per month are consuming content. So really big space. One of the big questions is how are folks going to monetize that content? So most of you heard this famous quote by Jeff Zucker, who's the previous CEO of NBC. And he has this famous quote that, how do we actually convert analog dollars? How do we maintain analog dollars when you're really getting digital pennies? Since he changed that to digital dimes, but it still remains, how are people actually going to make money when they start putting their content online? So currently, most online video content is actually being monetized via advertising, and it's one of the fastest growing areas of online advertising is actually online video advertising. So what do you have? You have different ad formats that people actually use to place in video. Those are in-stream ads. So these are pre-roll ads. So if you go to Hulu, you'll see one or two pre-roll ads as you're consuming content. Mid-roll ads. So very similar to the interstitial ads you see when you actually watch TV, there's also mid-roll ads that are being added to content. Post-rolls. Overlays are another one. These are little banners you see on the bottom as you're actually consuming that content. Companion ads are often associated with an in-stream ad. So you'll see an in-stream ad and an associated companion ad. Now, the space is pretty fragmented. There are a lot of players in sort of the online video advertising space. You have ad servers like DoubleClick, FreeWheel. You have ad networks, ScanScout, Human. You actually have ad platforms that sit on top of these different platforms, actually optimize revenue across these different online video advertising solutions. So there's another stat that's pretty interesting. By 2012, 77% of online video will be paid, driven a lot by subscription frameworks, driven a lot by folks like Netflix, et cetera. But there's a lot of pay models that folks are starting to explore. What are some of these pay models? You have pay-per-view. What I mean by pay-per-view is you go to a site and you actually purchase that content for sort of one-time viewing or viewing over a very short period of time. You have subscription models. Subscription models, folks like us would actually be managing users and billing them on a recurring fashion and managing the rights in terms of what content they have access to. Another very lucrative area. Rental. Rental is similar to pay-per-view, but you actually get access to content for a longer period of time. So you rent a piece of content, and you may have access to that content for 5, 7, 10 days. And another interesting one is day passes. The idea here is you go to a site, and you purchase one piece of content, but you have access to a bunch of content on that site for a particular period of time. So you actually get a pass for that site for a particular period of time. What kind of content are people actually monetizing via some of these pay models? You have premium on-demand content. So we've actually worked with one of the major broadcasters to actually place a paywall inside their content. Live events. This is another huge one. One of the reasons is it's a little bit difficult to monetize live events using advertising. How do you actually place those ads inside that live content, those in-stream ads inside that live content? So paywalls are a nice solution there. Education, another form of content that folks are actually putting paywalls in front. The idea there is you have some learn to speak English, for instance, content, and you actually want people to pay to actually see that content. So publishers have invested money to actually create that content, and now they want to put a paywall in front of it. And there's a variety of other sort of niche online video content, not really amenable for ads because they don't actually get enough plays, but paywalls may be the way to actually monetize that content. So before I sort of hop in to the actual demo, I want to tell you a little about Ooyala just to give you a sense for where we sit in the online video ecosystem. So we're an end-to-end video publishing platform. So if you're a publisher, you would come to us and say, look, I've got content. I want to put that content online. We'll say, sure, give us that content. We'll help you transcode that content into all the different formats that are necessary to deliver online, to mobile devices, to online devices, to over-the-top. We'll help you analyze how that content's consumed, help you understand how that content's actually consumed. We'll actually let you manage that content inside of our CMS called Backlot. And very importantly, we'll actually help you monetize that content. We'll help you make money off that content. As of a few weeks ago, it's predominantly using advertising. But with this new paywall feature that we've launched with PayPal, we actually now let you put paywalls inside that content. So now we've opened up a whole new set of monetization solutions for our publishers, namely putting paywalls in that content. So Ooyala is very focused on helping folks both understand how that content's consumed, but ultimately monetizing that content. So if you think of us in the online video space, that's an area that we've invested a lot of time and energy, is helping folks make money, helping media companies make money off that content, which is why we're very interested in this paradigm of actually using paywalls to help folks make money off that content. Okay, so let me actually hop in and show you what this looks like in Backlot. So this is our content management system, Backlot. And here you see a bunch of content. And this content's been uploaded into our system. And the idea is, how can someone actually put a paywall in front of that content? We'll make it very easy for folks to actually place a paywall in front of that content, embed that content on a web page, and then have users actually pay to watch that content. So what we've done is we have a Monetize tab. And you see we allow folks to place ads inside that content using ad sets. But we've also now released this feature that lets people actually put paywalls inside of this content. So let me show you how that works. So to create a paywall, I click on New. And at this point, a new paywall has been created. And the idea is now I can fill out various parameters of this paywall, various things that would be relevant in terms of maximizing conversion rate for this particular paywall. So let's call this demo paywall. One of the first things I can enter is a price. So how much to actually charge for this content. And you see we've made it very easy for folks to actually here enter a price, but I'll show you in a second actually change that price based on how folks are actually interacting and purchasing that content. So let's actually make this $199. At this point, I can specify a variety of other parameters, in particular the maximum number of views. So this is the number of times, once someone's purchased that content, how many times they can actually watch that content. The idea being you probably want to set this, so depending on your business model that you're trying to implement, you might either set this to unlimited, you might set it to a few times. Now, if you're doing a pay-per-view experience, you would likely set it to 2 or 3 views. The reason you wouldn't set it to 1 is if there's some problem during playback, you'd want them to be able to watch that content at least 1 more time. So for pay-per-view type models, you'd probably set this to 2 or 3. Now, if you're actually doing a rental type model, you might set this to unlimited. And how do you specify the length of time they're actually able to view that content? You specify that in the rental period. So here I can actually specify how long someone has access to that content. I can specify unlimited. That means they have access to that content forever. I can specify how many hours they have access to that content. So they could have access to that content only for a period of hours, days, and weeks. And you see it's very easy for me to change this parameter. So here I can specify, again, that this person can watch this content as many times as they want after they purchase it. By specifying a rental period of an hour, they can watch this content as many times as they want within that hour period. So very, very easy to change these parameters. This next one we found is pretty critical as well. So it's the preview window. So it's how long you're able to watch that content before that paywall pops up. And this is actually a really interesting one because it's sort of unknown where you put that preview window. So if you have a premium 22-minute piece of content, do you put that preview window at 5 seconds? Do you put it at 10 seconds, 2 minutes? Maybe you put it at 20 minutes. So right before there's that great scene where all the action's happening, you have a paywall pop up. It's really unknown where you'd want to put that preview window. And what we've done here is made it very easy for you to test out where to place that preview window. How long in the content you should actually wait before you put that preview window. So here, for instance, I can specify 15, which would correspond to 15 seconds. So at this point, I've created a paywall that I've set at $1.99. I've specified the maximum views to be unlimited, and I've specified a rental period of 1 hour. So what would I do with this now? Well, let me point out one more thing. We actually allow you to brand the checkout experience, too. We found that by branding the checkout experience, it actually increases conversion rate. So here, for instance, I can upload a logo, which will be placed during the checkout experience that will be unique to that particular provider or this particular set of content. OK, so now I've created my demo paywall. And now the idea is I actually want to apply this paywall to content. So let's go back to the Manage tab. And let's actually pick out a piece of content. And it looks like I picked one out here. And now I can go into an area of our CMS called the darkroom and actually pick out which paywall to apply to this content. So here I have a myriad of different paywalls that I've created. This is the one that actually, I think I called it demo paywall. So I can actually now apply that to this content. So right now I've just applied the paywall to this content. Now when I embed this content on a web page, boom, that paywall is going to pop up. It was really that easy. So you can really create a paywall within minutes. If I wanted to bulk apply, so apply this paywall to multiple pieces of content, I can do that as well. So here I've selected a bunch of different content, and now I can go ahead and apply that same paywall to all of that content. So you have the ability to actually bulk apply paywalls to content. And that way you have new content coming in, it can automatically have a paywall associated with it. OK. So what I'm going to do now is actually show you what this paywall experience looks like in a player. So here I've actually embedded a player. How did I do that? I just took this particular embed snippet. Very similar if you guys have used YouTube, very similar to that. You copy an embed snippet and you embed it on a page. Very similar paradigm here. I can copy that, embed it on a page, put it on a server, and boom, you have your video appear. And that's what I've done right here. Just added a few center tags to center it. But this is our player. So let me actually show you what happens when we click play. First thing I want to call out, let me pause it, is that there's now a Buy Now button. This Buy Now button allows you to actually purchase this content before the paywall pops up. So here you can click Buy Now. And here you see that in order to keep watching this content, I'm asked to pay $2.99. OK? So you can sort of purchase your content in that way. Now I can continue watching this content. In this case, I've actually set the paywall to occur at 10 seconds, I believe. Yep, there it is. So 10 seconds through, you see that it's 10 seconds right here. 10 seconds through watching this content, the paywall appears. Now, in order to continue watching that content, I would actually have to go in and pay for this content using PayPal or a credit card. So here is where I would actually pay for that content. Now, let me show you how easy it is for us to actually change what these parameters are. So here, again, I've set the price to be $2.99. Let's say I wanted to set this price to be $1.99. And I wanted to set the paywall period to be 5 seconds. So here I've changed those parameters. Now let's just refresh this page and click play again. First of all, you notice that now the price is set to $1.99. So I really was able to change the parameters very easily. And now let's continue watching this content. And at 5 seconds, you should see a paywall pop up. And there it is. Same thing will happen if I try to seek past that 5 seconds. Obviously, the paywall will pop up as well. But I think the important thing to note here, one, how easy it is for us to set up, for someone to set up these paywalls. It's not some big hassle. You just go in, specify a few parameters, apply those to content, and boom, your paywall actually pops up. Now, we've integrated with digital goods as well. That's one of the reasons we're here. That allows you to have a 2-click checkout process if you're already signed in. So not only is it really easy to set up this paywall, but it's very easy now to actually purchase that content with 2 clicks if you're already signed in. So both the player experience is very easy to purchase, also setting up those paywalls is very easy inside of our platform. Okay, great. And one final, yeah, so I think that's good. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So I showed you how it looks to actually create paywalls inside a backlot. I showed you what that checkout experience looks like. So I want to just summarize some of the features I've shown you. So one of them is that these paywalls can be applied both to live and on-demand content. Live, we're seeing, is a really important part of what we do, of the traction we're getting in the market. People want to put paywalls in front of that live content. You can actually go and pre-purchase the content before it goes live using our set of features. So before the content's live, you can go there, pay for it. When you come back, boom, you can actually watch that content. So you can pre-purchase live content. Paywall syndication. So we actually let you share this player to different sites. And because the paywall functionality is built into our player, you can actually share this and put this on different sites, place this player on different sites, and then actually charge people to watch that content on these different sites and get rev share agreements with those sites where you've syndicated that player to. So you can engage in those kind of relationships as well. And I think one of the really cool aspects and one area that we're really going to press in is tuning these parameters. So right now, the amount to charge for this, for the amount to actually charge for the content, the length of the paywall, these are unknown parameters to people. They don't know what to set these as. Now, with our analytics platform, we can help you decide how much to charge for that content. We can help you decide where to put that paywall. We can help to optimize your overall revenue. So I think that's a really exciting area that fits very well with what Ooyala does. Some of the future developments are paywall groups. So enabling you to have day passes, so purchasing one piece of content, then getting access to a whole suite of content. So that's a really exciting area for us. And then the revenue maximization piece is what I just spoke to, the ability to maximize your revenue using our rich set of analytics that we do collect on video consumption to help you optimize various parameters of your paywall. So what are some of the different business models we enable? So the reason we call this paywall is because we think we can enable a bunch of different paywall business models using this feature set that I just showed you. One of them, of course, is pay-per-view. So going to a page and purchasing that content for viewing right then. Rental models, I showed you how easy it was to specify the length of time over which you can have access to that content. And then the syndication revenue sharing, so allowing you to syndicate your player across the web and share revenue streams as it's actually syndicated to different destinations on the web. What's an example? You might be a publisher that has premium sports content. You might want to syndicate that to an NBC or a newspaper. So for instance, Telegraph Media Group or New York Times. They may actually want to place that content on their site and then charge viewers to watch it, and there could be a rev share where you actually get money back from that distribution point. So I think that's another really interesting revenue model. Here's an example deployment that it was actually for live streaming, so I can't show it to you because the live stream's ended. But this is actually for European EU qualifying matches for the Euro Cup in 2012. And again, an example of sort of niche content that has folks that are willing to pay actually quite a bit of money to actually watch this content. So we saw relatively high conversion rates as a result. So people went to this site and had a relatively high conversion rate in terms of actually watching this content. So what are some of the things that we enabled for this particular deployment? Again, it was live content. So we let them put a paywall on live content, let them pre-purchase using live content. There was also on-demand content, so after the match was done, they would still have access to some of that content, to those live events. And in the future, we're going to be enabling day passes for this particular deployment. And this is just one example of the different deployments we've done using our paywall feature. So just in summary, So we really want to enable, as a company, we want to enable a bunch of different online video monetization models. If it's advertising, fantastic. If people want to use paywalls and think that's where they can actually generate the most revenue, we want to enable that as well. And we want to let people optimize those settings, the different parameters of their paywall, using a really flexible, easy-to-use set of tools. And I showed you what it looked like in Backline. I think most of you will agree that it was pretty easy to set up that paywall. It was pretty easy to specify those parameters. And then finally, we have various ways to sort of optimize the checkout experience. One of those was actually the integration with digital goods. Another is the ability to apply branding to that checkout experience. But we provide various tools for actually helping you optimize that conversion experience to actually maximize the revenue you're able to obtain. And that is it. So I do invite everyone to go to ooyala.com-go-paywall.home, and you can actually see more details around this feature and see some more information around this feature. Yeah, and happy to take questions at this point if there are any. Thank you.
Can this paywall concept be used with video games in any way?
With what, I'm sorry?
Video games.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very similar concept. So you're thinking, what would be your use case?
More simpler video games, kind of like Facebook-style games, rather than something that requires necessarily the compute power of a PC.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think the way PayPal's designed their product, it's very flexible. So we hooked into their APIs to actually get this working, and I'm sure you could apply those same APIs to a video game experience.
My question is, you say you provide pricing guidance, so how does that play out consultatively in terms of, like, if you want to try to price something that's, say, a live sports event versus what might be on pay-per-view cable pre, say, Google TV, something like that?
I think it's a really good question, and I think the way I'm going to answer that is there's no great guidance. It's a pretty new space. So what we really want to do is provide a lot of tools to let you easily set that price point and change that price point from event to event, even within an event. Now, we do have customers, so we've seen what other customers have done. We've seen where they've been successful. But ultimately, we want to empower the publisher in this point to figure out what that price point is by providing analytics and frameworks for them to be able to experiment and choose which price point works best, which price point drives the most revenue. Yep. How much what? What are your fees? Yeah, really good question. So we have a platform fee that we charge that allows you to deliver a certain amount of content and also use sort of our CMS, syndicate content to different devices, et cetera. So we have a platform fee, and then we have currently a minimum commit for sort of the number of transactions you need to do to actually have access to this paywall feature.
How about your player? How many platforms are you going to support?
I'm sorry, what?
The player, how many platforms are you going to support? You support only PC, or do you support the other platform like Mac OS or Linux?
Really good question. So it's a Flash player. So if you notice, it was a Flash-based player. So currently we support Flash devices. We're working on an iOS implementation as well. So that would support Apple devices, obviously.
So about the other, like some Xbox, you have to also play back?
Can you say that one more time? I didn't.
Do you like have Xbox 360 and you can do the video streaming to play back on Xbox?
Oh, on Xbox.
Like Netflix they're doing right now.
Yeah. So I'm not actually sure if Xbox supports Flash or not. So that would be one of the factors I would need to understand better.
What kind of content do you foresee falling under your day pass model?
The day pass?
Yeah.
I think so one of the use cases I've seen is sports content. So these EU qualifying matches, for instance, there's not just one going on. There's like 10 going on at the same time, or roughly the same time. So someone may want to go there and have access to that whole set of content. Yeah. So they go there and say, look, I want to see all 10. I want to have access to all 10 matches. So we've seen that. People have requested it for that reason exactly.
Question in the back. In terms of any market feedback you've got to date on who would be the primary users of this, do you see it as the media companies trying to monetize content, As many people know, YouTube is trying to monetize that site. Just who do you think would be the primary users of this?
Yeah, so I mentioned it briefly. I think, so we see a lot of the larger broadcasters interested in these type of features. So they have premium content, and they're starting to experiment with what happens when we put that online. What sort of revenue streams are we going to see when we put that online? Sports, I think, is good. So some of this niche sports content, absolutely, right? So these EU qualifying matches, people want to see it. There's a cost associated with putting that online, so the publisher needs to obtain some sort of revenue stream from that, and it's a great use case for it as well. So I think you have premium content, you have sports content. I think you also have very sort of niche content, like niche anime content. It's basically content where advertising is not that amenable for advertising. So you have people that are really willing to go to that site and pay a significant amount to actually watch it, or over $1 to actually watch it.
So I saw something about third-party integration as far as viral videos go and things like that. Do you have any kind of deeper partnership where you kind of leverage on the chain payment that PayPal has, or is it more of it's a one-to-one from third party to you guys and then from you to the providers?
In terms of payout?
Right.
Yeah. So currently the way it works is that payments come to Ooyala, come to us, and then we distribute payments to the different publishers. Was that your question? Okay.
You were showing us the sports, the EuroLeague stuff.
Yep.
Are you envisioning or talking to any of the other kind of sports leagues besides soccer about, that was live specifically, right? Those were
Yep.
pay-per-view for live.
Yep.
Are they also considering, say, caching, in other words, providing you the catch-up maybe a day or two later so they're not stepping on their broadcast licenses and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, all these models are in. So when we go out to talk to publishers, I'm going to be a little bit vague, but all of these models are absolutely in play. So it's also for not just for sports, but you think of broadcast, so content that's shown on TV. How long do they have after that content goes on TV where they can still charge money for it? And maybe that model changes, right? So maybe the first few days you can actually charge a pay model. Maybe after that, that model changes to an ad-based model where you can have to have an ad sales team. Maybe after that, you actually put sort of remnant inventory and place remnant inventory in there. So I think there's this time scale, which I think you're hinting at, that's absolutely relevant. Yeah.
Have you make any deployment in connected TV platforms right now for different OEMs?
So you're asking whether we're integrated with different OEMs. So, yes, we are integrated. So as a video publishing platform, we are integrated, and we're looking at how we can actually enable these different payment these paywalls in those different platforms right now. So yes, we're integrated with a lot of them, but in terms of the paywalls, right now it's focused to sort of flash-based devices, so devices that actually play back flash content.
Hi, I just want to ask if we are using your FLV player, so are all the contents on your server, or it has to be our server?
So you're asking where the content's actually hosted?
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the time publishers host the content with us, but we also provide the ability for publishers to host that content on their own servers if they like, and they will still have access to this paywall functionality.
Okay. Is that free? Do you charge something for the hosting, or is it free?
So hosting is one of the so actually storage of content is one of the variable fees in our platform.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
So if you have a significant amount of content, you will be charged something for actually hosting that. But you get a certain amount when you actually purchase our platform. Yeah.
Hi, so this question has to do a little bit more with the monetization and also the copywriting of this. Mm-hmm. So, when I originally saw this at the beginning, it looked like it had a lot of parallels with like a Shutterstock. So I was wondering if this was going to also be a media play for companies to go ahead and extrapolate some of these clips and use that for various different media, or if that's an option, or if it was just kind of a play it once and that was it.
Can you actually dive a little bit further? I didn't quite understand the question.
Sure. So with these clips that you have to pay to go ahead and watch these short clips, right?
Yep.
So is it just kind of you pay for it once and you just are able to see that clip one time, or is it reusable? Is there a subscription base? Is it, are companies going to be able to use this and post it on their website for various different things? Or people, adding it into PowerPoints or, just very short videos? I mean, is there anything like that?
Right. So maybe let me correct me if I'm wrong. But so yes, you put paywalls in this content. Once you buy that content, so you as a viewer buy that content, you have access to that content for a certain number of times, as has been specified in our CMS. So you, a publisher, so you as, let's say, NBC, can say, I want people that buy this content be able to watch it 10 times over an hour period. I want people to be able to watch that content 10 times over a 5-day period. So you as a publisher can specify what the user experience is once they have that pay event. Is that kind of what you asked?
Yeah. How do you address this problem where you sold a video like $2.99, and then the user recorded that video and turned around and sold it again? How do you stop that? Is there a way for using your software to stop that?
It's a really good question. So it's around sort of content protection. So folks that actually use our paywall product, we do a lot to actually help protect that content. There's things like token-based authentication. There's things like encrypting the actual streams as they're sent. But we have a variety of security measures that we put around the content to prevent it from being sort of ripped off. So we provide a variety of security mechanisms for that. And a lot of the big broadcasters actually demand that. And so we've gone ahead and implemented many of those. It's a really good question.
You mentioned that one of the content types would be that it could be popular for is like a niche, like learn how to speak English.
Yep.
Is there a possibility for a user to download that video, in case they wanted to watch it when they didn't have internet connection or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a slightly different model, so download to own, which is a slightly different model than what I've shown here. Right now, the experience I've shown you here is tied to our player. So there's actually something that pops up within our player that says, look, you need to pay to actually buy this content. We also enable other types of models, which are download to own. To be quite frank, that's been sort of less popular with our customer base because they do want to retain control of that content. They don't want to actually distribute that content out because of security issues. They don't want that content to get out everywhere. But there is this idea of sort of offline viewing, and so we are working on solutions there with some with things like Flash Access and Silverlight PlayReady to actually allow offline viewing of content, but still retain control of that content.
Just a quick one. The embed code, as you're making changes possibly to the revenue side or the dollar side you're charging, the embed code remains the same. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to do anything. You just embed it once, change parameters. It's all done server side. So we have all information server side. So you embed it once and you're good to go. You can change any parameter you want.
Yeah, so how much flexibility do you let people have in terms of the quality of the video, whether it's high definition or lesser quality for like mobile devices and also for like being able to rewind or go back to the beginning or jump around?
Yeah, no, so we have a full featured player. So you letting me pitch the product, I appreciate that. But we do adaptive bitrate delivery, so we'll detect how much bandwidth you have available. We'll detect your CPU utilization, and we'll ship out the highest quality encoding that we have for that content. So as you put content in, we'll transcode it into a bunch of different encodings, and we'll pick out the best one to deliver to you based on your current bandwidth and CPU conditions. In terms of seeking, yes, you can seek all around using our player, back and forth. After you pay for it, you can seek all around. If you haven't paid for it yet, you obviously can't seek past that paywall period. But yeah, it's a fully featured player.
Is it possible to set up different prices for different user categories, like premium users, gold members, or?
Yeah, it's a great feature. So right now we don't have that in our sort of our default offering. We do provide a set of APIs so that you can actually set what those paywalls are. So if you have knowledge as someone's on your site, you have some login knowledge that person, you can sort of toggle what that paywall is from sort of 99 cents to $2.99 based on who that user is, based on perhaps if they have a subscription with you or not. So that's another great model we've seen, right? Subscribers will get this content for $1.99. Non-subscribers are going to charge you $10.99 for that content. But yeah, so if you have knowledge of who that person is, you as a publisher can actually set what that paywall amount is. And we plan on building it into backlot in sort of Q1 timeframe, that sort of functionality.
Okay, thanks.
Is our player? Yeah, I mean, so our player is sort of a Swift that you embed on your page, and we have APIs that we expose for that player. And certainly, if you wanted to interact with that player using PHP, Ruby, JavaScript, whatever you want to actually interact with it with, you can do that. Yep. Yeah, so that's not, so when you upload content, we store that content for you, we manage that content. We have our own MySQL server that manages content around that, so you would never be interacting with our SQL server directly. You'd just be going through our APIs to obtain information about that content. So you would be interacting with our player, you'd be interacting with Backlot via our set of APIs, and those would in turn interact with our database.
Could you talk a little more about your pricing? You were saying there's a minimum commitment you have to make. Can you a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, so that's currently. So we just rolled this out about, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, in sort of a limited phase. So in Q4 we're going to have a set of folks that will roll this out to and that we'll develop with. Moving into Q1, we are going to change our pricing model to make it more general for more and more folks. But currently we are sort of having a more limited release of this to a set of people. You know, like I said, in Q1, that price point is going to come down. In Q1, that minimum commit is going to come down once we have some more learnings about this. It's really new, so we don't want to be too aggressive rolling it out because we're not even sure all of the issues that might come up. And so we want to be a little cautious there. But so far, it's been fantastic. So those qualifying matches, those EU qualifying matches, fantastic feedback there, and fantastic conversion rate, really. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you, PayPal, for inviting us.